12 o'clock on your Monday afternoon now. Welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head joined once again by our guy, Scott Hamilton of the Post and Courier. And I think it's convenient you're on today, Scott, because we are officially live in Charleston, WIWF 96.9 HD3. So they're hearing us in your neck of the woods now.
On that one, the stakes just went up exponentially on that. Now people on the coast can be terrorized.
Well, I was actually down in Charleston this past weekend, hanging out down there. Went to the Isle of Palms. Went to the Hunley Museum for the first time in a while. So I was checking out the lay of the land before we went live down there today.
Why didn't you tell me that?
It was a last minute thing. Just me and the wife wanted to go hang out before football kicks into high gear. But
okay,
I'll have to come visit your dungeon. I will have to come visit your dungeon sometime.
The dungeon. Remember, I redid the dungeon.
I know.
The dungeon is no longer the dungeon. It's like, actually, I'm going to be really transparent with you. The dungeon was a closet.
It looked like a closet.
Flag.
Yeah.
It was a closet. Now I have like a real room.
Yeah.
I got like stuff and pictures and
yeah.
I'm liberated.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. But,
so
yeah.
On in Charleston, I mean, now this is a statewide thing now, I guess, on Myrtle Beach. And
pretty much. You can hear us everywhere.
Simulcast. Everything that's on 107.5 The Game, you can hear now in the Holy City.
Yeah, pretty much. You can always take us worldwide, too, with the 107.5 The Game app, if you want to do that as well.
I like how that's became a giant promo.
Yeah, it is. My tag is we simply make it impossible not to listen, which I think is fair.
There's a difference in hearing and listening.
That's true. But we appreciate people regardless, whether they're hearing or listening.
Other than your trip to IOP, I mean, what did you guys did you go downtown? Did you do the peninsula? Anything like that?
No, we did that last time. We actually attempted to go to the market area, into the pier and all that kind of stuff, but couldn't find parking, which that's not surprising. In Charleston, parking is a little bit slim to come by at times, so we just kind of looped back around and went back to the beach instead.
And what day was this?
It was Saturday. We did have to wait the rain out to finally get on the beach, but it ended up being worth it.
Well, we're going to bring you back.
Yeah. No, I love going down there. I love being in the state of South Carolina because you are literally 2 hours from the beach or 2 hours from the mountains, whatever your preference is. You can get everywhere pretty quickly.
And you could be to some really, really large cities. And you go north of Columbia, you could be in Charlotte in no time. You go west, or west rather, you go to Atlanta, which no reason to ever really go to Atlanta, but we'll litigate that another time. And then, of course, Florida. If you ever want to go to Florida for, again, God knows what reason, you can do that. Yeah.
No, I drove back from Daytona last year, and it wasn't that bad. It was like 6.5 hours, I think. Manageable.
No, I drove back from the bowl game in Orlando on New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't horrible. By the way, speaking of I-95 and going south, we got a little news out of Hilton Head. Did you see this?
I did not. What's up?
RBC, title sponsor of the Heritage, re-upping a multi-year deal, going to keep sponsoring that event.
Very cool.
That is fantastic news. Here's what's funny, though. That tournament, I mean, and it's the third, well, not the third, it's one of the oldest on tour. It didn't have a title sponsor, I want to say 13 years ago at all. Mm-hmm. But they came together and the community paid the tab and all that. And they actually held a tournament without a title sponsor, and then RBC came on board. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a signature event now, too, by the way.
Sure.
Don't forget that. Only top 70 get in.
Yeah.
Cut. So it's a big deal.
It is, and obviously one of the biggest deals sports-wise for the entire state. And it's funny, how some things, especially in golf, can become synonymous with a certain name, where even if, let's say, RBC didn't re-up and they changed it to something else, people would still spend years calling it the RBC Heritage because it's been known for that for so long. And it's very easy off the tongue. It sticks, right?
Always before, not always before, but for several years before RBC came aboard, It was telecom companies. Mm-hmm. You had this company, telecom company X Heritage, and you had this telecom company Y Heritage, and then they started collapsing. A lot of those telecom companies, and that's why they needed a title sponsor. By the way, Tyler. The RBC Heritage has a $135 million economic impact on the state of South Carolina.
I believe it.
That is absolutely massive. I've been to that tournament most years for the last 25 years, and it's every bit true.
Yeah.
Have you ever been?
I have not. So that's probably, as far as golf events go, second only to the Masters in terms of what I would like to actually get to attend. Terry tells me we're trying to work on the Masters thing. It hasn't happened yet. But if I could get out to that or the RBC, that'd be pretty cool.
I've been to 13 Masters, and
you're just bragging now.
The truest thing you will ever hear about the Masters. You can't wait to get there, and you can't wait to leave. If you're working,
sure,
you're there in a professional capacity, because it is hard work. They do not make it especially easy on you. Even though the media center is very posh and palatial, and all you can eat and all you can drink and this, it's hard though to get around. You go somewhere like Harbor Town for the RBC Heritage, dude, bending over backwards to accommodate you.
Yeah.
Everybody's chill. It's just a different breed of cat, and it's so fitting that it comes the week after the Masters, because it's like a giant exhale. Jim Nantz loves it.
Sure.
Jim Nantz loves the Heritage, and he echoed what I said. He actually quoted me on air one time. But it's just like a giant exhale after the pressure cooker of Augusta, man. That will be first for you, Tyler. You will go to the Heritage.
Yeah, it's the Masters hangover event, and if the Masters champion ends up playing it, it's always interesting to see how well they do given what kind of busy week they just had. Yeah.
Now the course isn't for everybody. I mean, Tiger played it once and said, it's too tight. Phil came once or twice. It wasn't his bag. But then you get some really good champions down there. You'll get a Scotty Scheffler.
Sure.
Scotty Scheffler won last year. He was absolutely phenomenal. Then this year we had Justin Thomas beat Andrew Novak from Charleston in a playoff. It's just a great event. By the way, Andrew Novak, I'm feeling good about his Ryder Cup chances.
Very cool. We'll talk some Scotty Scheffler a little bit later on in the hour with what he did over the weekend at the BMW. Well, right now, though, we're 13 days away from kickoff. Carolina and Virginia Tech, 2 weeks from yesterday, gets squaring off in Atlanta. Rolling through camp. Again, still no news on Faison yet. We got another scrimmage in the books. You hear positive things. Offense looking good. We had a turnover generator. Gerald Kogel got a pick. We don't know who he picked off, but it was one more turnover than we had the prior week at least. So you hear positive things. I think, again, we're just all at the point of like, man, I need to see this on the field to really start understanding and believing what this team's going to be, because it's so drastically different than what it was a year ago, or at least we expect it to be.
First of all, did they blur out that interception? Who threw the pick?
I don't believe they showed the quarterback at all. You just had the standpoint of, and I believe he was covering Brian Rowe. You just see Kilgore pick it off. So it could have been Sellers. It could have been Jimmy Francis. I don't know.
It's like the Zapruder film for JFK. It's just we keep analyzing these things, trying to see exactly who the shooter is, but it's not very clear. Yeah, and back to your point about the expectations, I mean, and everything being drastically different. It's pretty amazing, Tyler, when you think about it. We went into last season after the bummer of the year before. And I say it's a bummer only because of the hoopla, the way the previous season had ended.
Sure.
It was a bummer. It was still better by Muschamp standards. We'll put it out there like that.
Yeah.
But for everything to transpire the way it did last year was just special and magical. And you look at how it was done. I mean, with that defense, the defense was unbelievable. And in the midst of all this, we saw a quarterback develop before our eyes. Now he goes from being, man, we hope he's ready to play in the SEC, to, man, he might win the Heisman Trophy. And that's not hyperbole. I just wondering, though, how drastically the identity of the team will shift during the season. I still think with all my heart that this will be a defensive-driven team. I think that's what's at the core of the philosophy for this team. Now, if the offense is better able to accentuate the defense, that's fantastic.
Sure. But
I still think at the end of the day, the defense is what is going to carry this team. And because that's been really the calling card of the Beamer teams throughout his entire tenure. The defense has been pretty good every game just about since he came to Columbia. It's been the offense that's had these incredible lulls. I mean, has there been a game, and let's think here as hard as we can with our little minds.
Yep.
Has there been a game where the South Carolina defense was absolutely, positively, completely outmatched since Shane Beamer came?
The Beamer era, I mean, getting blown out against Florida maybe back in 22 before they reeled off the couple upsets. That was not a great day. I mean, they gave up the lead to Florida in 23 when they had the 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. The Mississippi State game that year was kind of back and forth. Tennessee that year was kind of rough. If it happened, it would have probably been in one of those two middle seasons. But there were, again, plenty of examples of the defense playing well those years as well. So it wasn't a consistent thing. Maybe some anomalies, here and there. And you're right. Like the offense with Sellers, your core receivers coming back, most of your offensive line kind of being the same. I feel like we have a general idea of what that's going to be. Where their ceiling is, we don't know, I guess, is the question mark. And, again, how much better has Sellers gotten this offseason. But the defense, not that you're concerned, that is just kind of the scary part, is like, man, you replace all that talent, a lot of veteran leaders. And we just literally had Debo Williams in the studio with us an hour ago, and he was somebody that had 4 years of experience last year, in the middle of that defense, and obviously played his role really, really well. And now you're replacing him with somebody like J.R. Johnson, who we've heard great things about, just does not have near the experience as those guys that he's, playing a part in replacing in the middle of that defense this upcoming year. So it's a wait-and-see kind of thing. You got a lot of high-caliber talent, a lot of guys in the transfer portal that have come from really good schools, that have all been respective good talents out of high school. So this is where you have to put the belief, and this is where I give Clayton White a lot of credit, because, again, 2 years ago, most people were ready to run him out of town. Right? People said, man, 23 was so rocky with the defense that it's time to move on. But Coach Beamer stuck to his guns and said, you know what? I believe in Clayton White. I think we've got what we need to be successful next year, and they were. So this is where you have to say, okay, you proved it last year. You got to go out there and prove it again this year.
And what's funny is when he brought in Dow Loggins, I thought that was the worst move in the world. I'm like, why are they bringing this guy in?
Sure.
He has consistently been named like the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL, worst at developing quarterbacks, worst at play calling, this, that, and the other. And he was absolutely the right guy at the right time for South Carolina. And, and he's moved on now. He's gone, got his own head coaching gig. He's at App State.
Yep.
God bless him. Hope he does well. But how much of that will Mike Shula try to continue? How much of it will Mike Shula try to change to make it his own? I mean, it's his offense now.
Yep.
Does he go in and try to, reinvent the wheel? Is he going to polish Lenore Sellers, or is he going to screw with him? I mean, anything's possible at this point. I just hope to goodness that Shane Beamer is involved at some point and says, look, we don't want to be too drastic with this. It does help, though. It does help that Shula had a relationship with Sellers before the transition, that he was familiar with him.
And that's where you feel pretty comfortable, like, hey, this isn't a brand new guy coming in out of nowhere that's going to try and flip this thing on its head and not understand Sellers and all that kind of stuff. You have the working relationship with those guys from a year ago, and hopefully it's a seamless transition into him being the play caller this upcoming year, which, again, we'll find out in 13 days just exactly how that goes against Virginia Tech. News of the weekend, though, as it broke on Friday during the show, was the NCAA and their levied punishment against Michigan and the reaction to it. We'll dive into that coming up next and talk about what it means for college football going forward. As the halftime show rolls along, he is Scott Hamilton of the Post and the Courier. I'm Tyler Head, Cale Wilson producing on the other side of the glass here on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, Kate Wilson hanging out with you here on your Monday on the game. On Friday, the NCAA handed out its series of penalties to Michigan in reference to the 2023 sign stealing scandal that involved Connor Stallions. Scott, a lot of fines, a lot of show causes, a lot of this and that, but anything really damaging long term doesn't seem like that. A lot of people believe that Michigan got off with a bit of a slap on the wrist at the end of the day when it comes to what could have been levied against them by the NCAA for these infractions that, again, were a part of a team that won the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows me once again what a clown show the NCAA is. They spent 2 years researching this, investigating this, and first of all, make no mistake about it. I mean, the penalties are significant financially.
Sure.
Going to be upwards of $35 million. But Tyler, we know those Michigan alums, man, are rich. They got money. They're going to offset that. The financial ramifications of that are not going to be as damaging as they would be for any other program that's not one of the blue bloods, or especially outside the Power Four. But what they didn't do, look, man, this isn't this. They took titles away from other schools for doing far less.
Yeah.
And when I say far less, I mean they actually cheated. They broke the rules of sportsmanship. They manipulated things to win the game. It's just I find it just hard to digest that they let that pass and that they let them keep their titles. They didn't scrub the championships. I have no problem with not banning them from future postseasons because this generation of players, these guys playing, they didn't have anything to do with that team.
Sure.
And even the players on that team, they did what the adults told them to do. You know, Jim Harbaugh tells them, hey, this is what they're going to do. This is what you're going to do. They're going to respond. But to not take that title away, man, I have a real hard time reconciling that. I do. And I had in my column at postandcourier.com yesterday, I think back to the North Carolina fake classes scandal.
Mm-hmm.
They spent years investigating that, and they proved without a shadow of a doubt that hundreds, more like 1,200, 1,300 UNC athletes over a period of 15 years took fake classes.
Yep.
They proved without a shadow of a doubt that it happened, and they didn't punish them. They put a show cause on the guy who ran the department, who ran the academic department, like he's going to coach in the NCAA or something.
Yeah.
But they did not do anything to the University of North Carolina because they said all the students had access to it. And what that does when positioned with this of Michigan just proves to me that if you are a partner, if you are a blue blood, if you're one of the elite, one of the big brands, that you're not going to get the just punishment you deserve. And it just really makes me sideways.
I believe it was in the fallout of the Tennessee investigation with the, bags of money being handed out at the McDonald's drive-thru and all that kind of stuff. I believe it was at that point in time the NCAA kind of said that, hey, we're looking more towards financial type things in terms of what penalties will be assessed going forward. And again, those Tennessee teams didn't have any championships or anything like that to be taken away from them. But it seemed like the NCAA was trying to set a precedent of backing away from those kind of things. Because look, they've done it plenty of times. Again, we couldn't recognize Southern Cal as national champions or Reggie Bush as a Heisman Trophy winner because of things that went on back in the early 2000s. But it does seem like they're trying to move away from that. And this is the debate Terry and I have had many times in reference to that kind of stuff. Because, look, we all saw it happen, right? We all remember watching it. There were parades and banners and all that kind of stuff. And taking them down, I guess, removes the recognition. But I don't know if you can't bring out the Men in Black little mind wipe thing and make people forget about it. Like, it's one of those things, like, how much does that actually do? I don't know. And, again, it seems like it's very clear the NCAA is probably not in the business of doing that anymore, regardless, because they don't have nearly as much power as they used to when they were doing that anyway.
Well, but this is different, though, Tyler. This is different. And I know that this was caught before the playoff, and I know that Harbaugh was punished during the season and all this, and they were under a very intense microscope going into the college football playoff that year. But this is for on-field shenanigans.
Sure.
This isn't like having hookers in the dorm. This isn't like having fake classes. This is actual actual cheating. This is breaking the etiquette of sportsmanship. Everything that college athletics used to be about, and I presume to some degree it still is, it just totally ignored and it insulted. And that's why I think actually taking away the championship would have been just in this instance. Because otherwise, I'm with you. I mean, we can't unsee Reggie Bush winning the Heisman, though he's got it back now. We can't unsee that.
Right.
But this is an instance where the NCAA should have stood up and said, you cheated on the field. Connor Stallions is over there dressed like, you know, some guy out of a bad Roger Corman movie. Look at this. We have proof. He threw his phone in the pond.
Yeah.
I wash my hands with the NCAA, and I mentioned in my column that somebody's going to pay for this. The NCAA, it goes back to the old Jerry Tarkanian quote about the NCAA is so mad at Kentucky, they're going to put Cleveland State on another year of probation. Somebody's going to pay. And I'm afraid it's going to be the likes of South Carolina with Razul Faizan, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't get eligible now because the NCAA is going to show its stuff.
I do wonder, I don't know if this is even the same department or how all that works up there in Indianapolis at NCAA headquarters, but if they didn't have to deal with this investigation, could we have gotten a ruling by now? Maybe? No.
I don't. I actually hoped that we would get them both. When I saw the Michigan one pop up, I went, okay, I bet we get something on Faizan today. I bet we find out, and it'll be buried. I thought that might be how they do it, or there would be good news, bad news. Oh, you know, we're hammering Michigan, but we're gonna let this kid play another year.
Maybe the Faizan eligibility is just the friends that we made along the way.
It's like an early '90s sitcom, and you got the little opening where everybody's in a park laughing.
Exactly.
It was all about or it's like the end of the South Park episode. I think we learned something here today.
Yeah, it's all about the journey and the camaraderie and all that kind of stuff, and you know how we looked inside of ourselves more than anything. But until told otherwise, I'm just going to assume the Faizan thing's not going to happen. And we get to the point now, as you're getting set to prepare for Virginia Tech coming up in less than 2 weeks. Now you're actually game planning, and now is when and I get it, you're still including Faizan and everything as much as you can on the off chance that hey, maybe we can get the thumbs up before the game starts, but. Now you're looking at it and saying, okay, here is this specific player situation we're going to have in this game against Virginia Tech. You can't put Faizan in. That's got to be Adway. That's got to be Howell. That's got to be Fuller. That's got to be Augustave, whoever it may be, because that's the guys you're riding with now. And again, Faizan can be as included as possible, but when it comes to actually planning for the game, right now, unfortunately, you have to plan like he's not going to be there.
I'm putting it up on my Twitter/X account right now at Scott Hamilton PC. This is the tweet of the day for me. I try to do a Twitter winner of the day every day. This is the one. It came out a little bit after 8 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
It's from Darren Heitner. He's Faizan's attorney. Dear NCAA, the start of the season is days away. You have everything you need to determine Sewell is eligible. Don't force our hand. Hashtag free Sewell. Don't force our hand.
By the way, you can also buy the hashtag free Sewell t-shirt now if you want to support the cause.
Hey, he's got to make some money anyhow. I mean,
he does.
Trying to keep him from earning big paychecks.
Yeah, that's right.
Got to get some cash. God bless him.
Got to make
I'll order one if I weren't supposed to be unbiased.
Well, we'll sit here with our fingers crossed, hoping we get something soon. I want to hit a little something else from this Michigan thing of what exactly does it mean to be a cheater in college football now. We'll dive into that coming up next. It is the Halftime Show. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, Cale Wilson, along with you on your Monday on the Game. And welcome back in, Halftime Show. Tyler Ed, Scott Hamilton, Kay Wilson hanging out with you on your Monday here on the game. Reminder, this week it's the Game Summer Golf Classic sponsored by Krager Showrooms coming up Friday. We'll be live at Charwood Golf Club over in West Columbia. Tee time's at 9. Registration begins at 7:30. We'll have onion sausages again for breakfast. The mimosa bar provided by Saki's Wine and Spirits and Firehouse Subs for lunch. Prizes to give away and the golf gun make this turn as well. $400 for a team if you want to sign up. 803-755-2000 is the number to call, and press the number 2 to be a part of the game's Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms. Talking about the fallout of the NCAA's ruling on the Michigan sign stealing scandal from 2 years ago with Connor Stallions. Again, Jim Harbaugh got a show cause. He's never coming back to college football. Who cares? Sherwin Moore got an extra game for next year after he self-imposed the 2-game suspension for himself in games 3 and 4. By the way, that was the funniest thing to me, is the fact that they just selected 2 random games, and one of them is Nebraska, a conference opponent. They're like, we don't need to have our coach for the Nebraska game. Who cares? And I'm sure that's bulletin board material, out there in Lincoln. But the NCAA looked at it and said, okay, that's enough. We'll give you one more game in 26, and we'll call it a day at the end of that. But one thing Michigan's never going to be able to shake is the brand of being called cheater, right? And again, this was discovered before the national championship, for the playoffs. So theoretically, they ran through the back half of their season, the Rose Bowl, the national championship game, without having this advantage of sign stealing. But public perception is never going to look at it that way. They're always going to be that team that cheated to win the national championship, regardless of if the banner is still up or not. And that's kind of one of those things. I wonder how long that follows them, right? Because these kind of things, and this is a completely different situation, Penn State still has not been able to shake off the Sandusky thing, right? That's still something that people bring up anytime Penn State is referenced with anything, regardless of the fact that was a completely different coaching administration, completely different everything at the school at that point in time, but they've never been able to shake that. Again, a very, very different circumstance than what we're talking about when it comes to stealing signs on a football field, but those kind of things follow programs for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of SMU, what do you think about?
Yeah, Pony Express, the death penalty.
That's exactly right. That's the only thing you think about.
Yes.
A lot of people don't even realize that they've actually been back for 35 years.
Yeah, and they've
had football.
They're actually doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, that's the word on the street. That's the way. Yeah, the ACC's different, but yeah, you're right. But I agree with you. I mean, this follows you. And it will always follow them, because in actuality, what happened is so much more egregious than anything SMU did. Not Penn State. That's horrible.
Yeah, that's a very different thing that we're talking about there.
That was horrible. But this is different than, this is even different. And I mentioned it earlier. I mean, Rick Pitino, the whole hose for Joe's thing they had going on in Louisville, where the escorts in the dorm room with the basketball players and the recruits and all that. I mean, this is on field, caught on camera, blatantly
sure,
ignoring rules, ignoring etiquette. And I think it was, look, Jim Harbaugh could not beat Ohio State. Things were not going well. His job was in jeopardy.
Yep.
And it's just kind of funny to me that he goes in, he restructures his contract, he starts making changes, he goes back to more of a smash mouth offense, and suddenly Michigan becomes one of the premier programs in the country again and wins a national title. It's like he knew, I'm going to do all I can to win a title, then I'm going to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the NFL. And he didn't care if he cheated. He didn't care what they had to do. I mean, would you hire Connor Stallions if you just saw his resume before he went to Michigan? I mean, who the hell is this guy?
No, but in a way, it seems like the exact type of hire that Harbaugh would make, because, Harbaugh's a weird dude anyway, right? And he looks at this dude with military training and this just outside the box way that he looks at things. I could see Harbaugh being very impressed by him and be like, yeah, we're bringing on a staff, he'll figure something out. And again, now they did, I guess, a decent enough job of keeping Harbaugh far enough away from directly being tied to Stallions in this that there was still plausible deniability for the most part. But, like, he knew. Like, well, we're not going to sit here and act dumb. He knew.
Well, that was one of the things. They couldn't directly link him with tangible evidence.
Yeah.
But they had enough testimony that they could have really, I mean, circumstantial and he said, she said, and all that. But there were enough people saying that Harbaugh knew that I would have presumed him guilty. And why else do you get a show cause if he didn't know?
Exactly.
Now, here's my thinking, Tyler. And I said this with regards to Rick Pitino, and I'm going to ask your opinion on this. He is charged with shepherding a multi-million-dollar operation.
Mm-hmm.
It's big business, Michigan football. I mean, it's like U.S. Steel or something, brother. He's also charged with shepherding young men. He went into a lot of living rooms and promised to take care of their boys.
Yep.
What is more damning, to have failed in that task or to not have known what was going on? Either way, he's on the hook.
Definitely so. No, you as the head coach, you're the CEO of that corporation. And if you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company and there's fraud or insider trading happening under you, guess what? That still falls on you because those people are the ones you're supposed to preside over, and you get in trouble for it too. So same kind of thing here. And again, with how detail-oriented Jim Harbaugh is, I refuse to believe that he had no knowledge of this kind of thing happening underneath him. Again, and yeah, there's a lot of people on your coaching staff, a lot of people within your organization, but it's not tens of thousands of people. It's a couple hundred, right? And with how much he likes to have that you hired, and with how much he likes to have his fingerprints on everything, there was zero way he had nothing to do with this.
And why does Sharon Moore delete text messages? What, dude, if you have nothing to be ashamed of, why are you deleting these text messages?
Yeah, it's kind of like that situation of, like, when you walk by a police officer, if you start acting suspicious, they're going to assume that you're up to something. Well, it's like, when they start investigating things, you start deleting text messages, I'm going to assume you had something you didn't want me to read.
Well, yeah, as somebody who might or might not have been prosecuted for something similar in school, I agree. But the whole affair, and to see Harbaugh just so brazenly just going about his business. Did you see his quote when he was asked about it over the weekend?
I didn't. What did he say?
I'm not engaging. That was it. That's all he would say with regards to the whole thing in Michigan.
Which, like, here's the thing. He can say whatever he wants now. Again, he's never coming back to college football. You could give him 1,000-year show cause or no show cause at all. He has no reason to come back. He achieved his ultimate goal, to win a national championship, had a perfect season, and now he's pursuing the one thing that's eluded him up to this point, and that's a Lombardi trophy, which he's, quite frankly, got a good shot at getting one of those in the next couple of years.
And don't forget, this 10-year show cause does it again.
Until the other show cause ends.
The current 4-year show, which was part of Cheeseburger Gate.
Yes, that was that's the funniest thing about me for that entire season is Jim Harbaugh sat out half of the regular season, the first 3 games and the last 3 games, for 2 separate incidents that whole year.
Has any coach, and I wrote this in my column, has any coach been penalized more, faced more suspensions, had more stuff go down during a 3-year period, and still be able to work?
Yeah.
Still be able to get a check, still be able to lead a team to a national championship than Jim Harbaugh. And don't forget all the other stuff leading up to this, Tyler.
Yeah.
Don't. The satellite camps.
Rome. Listen,
name it.
His entire tenure at Michigan is going to get its own 30 for 30 one day. And it's probably going to be a multi-parter, if we're being honest with you, because it deserves it. And look, Harbaugh is an incredible football coach. They didn't win a national championship just because things like this were happening behind the scenes. They won because he's a really good football coach. He can recruit good talent, all that kind of stuff. But again, this just cast a shadow over the whole thing because they're never going to be able to shake this.
What other coach has this that we can think of? Is there another coach with something comparable? I know we have the Jerry Tarkanians of the world, and
sure,
I'm at a loss. I mean, Pete Carroll saw the posse coming, But when you look back, what Southern Cal was doing, buying Reggie Bush's mama house or whatever, I mean, it's not that damning. I mean, this is next level stuff.
Yeah. Fire out subs text on 803-404-6100. Any of the coaches comparable in terms of things that may cast a shadow over what they accomplished, particularly championships in college football. We'll hit that. I'll talk some golf as we wrap up hour number one. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, and Kay Wilson along with you on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head and Scott Hamilton along with you here on your Monday. Wrapping up hour number one, we're talking about cheating and obviously Michigan and their sanctions handed down by the NCAA last Friday. Some of you weighing in on the text line. Nameless texter says, what's worse, Michigan cheating or the Houston Astros? I'm still upset that COVID ended up doing what it did to Major League Baseball in 2020 because the Astros did not face their proper repercussions of having to get heckled that entire season because they played in front of no fans. And, you know, I think that whole thing made Rob Manfred look 10 times worse than he already does with how he handled that and his comments and all those kind of things. But, yeah, both similar when it came to signs and nefarious means of relaying them or getting them to their team.
Trying to think. I mean, I put this up there. I mean, they're both blatant.
Sure.
They're both directly impacting competition. And refresh my memory, the manager of the Astros at the time, was he in on it?
I think he was. I'm pretty sure. Again, it's one of those things. It's like, how can you not, right? Especially when you're going to the lengths of having electronic devices on your players' bodies to alert them of pitches coming and trash cans banged on and all this kind of things. Like it's too deep of a thing to not have everyone involved. And again, I think that was a direct instance where, you know, removing a title would have probably been justified, didn't end up happening. And again, when all these findings came out prior to 2020, you know, the Astros were getting set to have to face hell from every opposing fan base that they didn't have to live up to because, you know, COVID happened and weren't playing in front of fans that year. But, yeah, those are two pretty comparable instances, I would say, in terms of what they did. And obviously both ended up resulting in a championship overall. Let
me get your opinion on this. Let me ask you this. Deflategate, is that cheating?
Oh, man. Look, I think Deflategate actually went too far. To be honest with you, I felt like the NFL was trying to prove a point, and I remember watching that Patriots-Colts game. Whether the balls were under-deflated, over-deflated, whatever, I think the Patriots still win that game. I think they made too much of that, and I think it was almost a just ending for the NFL. Then in the same season that they had to suspend Brady for 4 games, the Patriots still won the Super Bowl, and Roger Goodell had to hand over the Lombardi Trophy to the Patriots. It was at the expense of my Falcons, unfortunately, but still, it was just like, well, that just kind of seems fitting.
Okay, what about the steroid era? What about performance-enhancing drugs? What about now?
Yeah, now this wasn't just one team.
No, this is an individual, but cheating is cheating.
Yeah,
but I'm going to put this in the mix. I don't think it's as cheating as, and maybe I'm contradicting myself. I do not think what Mark McGuire and Bonds and those guys did was as egregious as Lance Armstrong.
Okay.
For some reason, I just can't. Hitting a baseball has nothing to do with being juiced. Now, how far that ball goes, how hard it's hit, yeah, sure. Possibly. I think it's more for recovery itself, for injuries over a long season. But I think juicing for Lance Armstrong directly improved his performance because of the cardiovascular aspect of what he does.
It's a fair point. I've never heard it put that way, but that makes sense.
Oh, I blew your mind.
Yeah, no, I never thought about that. Well, I think you're right.
His legs are the engine. For
taking steroids directly affects your performance on a bicycle. And again, taking it will help you hit the baseball farther, but hitting a baseball is still a very specific skill that you do have to master. Your timing style, like you can hit a ball on steroids, but if you're hitting it the wrong way, you're going to foul it off or hit a grounder or whatever. Like you still have to have the actual ability to hit the ball square to drive it far. And again, I'm not excusing the steroid era of baseball by any means. And I don't think Major League Baseball was as upset because it was bringing in a lot of viewers, a lot of those viewers that had tuned out, you know, because of the strike in the mid-90s. So it even served a purpose for the league itself. And look, chicks dig the long ball, right? Everybody was in on it, the great home run chase and all those kind of things. I've never thought about the direct comparison between the two, but that is a fair point that Armstrong was helped out more by his use of steroids than maybe the baseball players were.
And look, man, I'm just going to say it, and you can hate on me. Hit me up at Scott Hamilton PC or hit the text line. I have no problem with these guys juicing. Put it in a contract. Give them a bonus if they juice. Make the game more interesting. I like the idea of superheroes up the bat, just hitting bombs, man. I mean, I have no problem with it. The steroid era, man, was so much more interesting than the last 25 years of baseball. Like ever since they started cracking down, since Canseco ruined it all with that book, everything's been kind of a buzzkill since. I say let them juice. Give them a bonus if they do, or have a separate juice league. I mean, I've mentioned that before. Let's have a separate juice league. and guys are fighting, going crazy.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but there's a lot of people who would agree with you on that take. I'll say that much. That's 1 hour in the books. Another hour to go with Scott Hamilton as we're hanging out for the halftime show here on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, Kay Wilson hanging out with you on your Monday here on The Game. We'll get back to some Gamecock football coming up here in just a second. I did make mention of this, and we didn't get to it at the end of the last hour, but we'd be remiss if we did not recognize the greatness of Scotty Scheffler and what he did at the BMW Championship yesterday when this happened.
Scheffler. Can you believe what you just saw? Bobby Mack can't.
82 feet on 17. Could you believe what you just saw, Scott?
Okay, when's our next break? 1:15. Okay, I got a lot to say about this, man. This guy, I was at Augusta in 05 when Tiger. I was at 16 when Tiger chipped him.
Yep.
He's not Tiger. Only because he's not Tiger. Everything else is very Tiger-esque.
Sure.
I mean, and I think we're now starting to realize it because very smartly, imprudently, we keep saying, "Oh, well, he's not Tiger. He's not Tiger," but it just keeps going on and on and on. And my only hesitation when it comes to Scotty Scheffler, and I don't think this is fair either, but I'll admit, some of his prime competitors are on Live Golf now.
Okay, sure.
But we see what he does to them in the majors.
Yeah. It's not like they don't have any head-to-heads.
He's not the artist that Tiger was. Tiger already did so much that that we had never seen before, that for him to emulate these things, maybe it takes away some of the pizzazz. Tiger was a rock star. Tiger Palooza was a real thing, dude.
Oh, sure.
Well, my boots are on the ground for many years of that. I've still never seen anything like a day when Tiger's playing.
Tiger Woods completely changed the game of golf from the approach. And again, it was a military machine-like of approach that he took to playing the game. He obviously brought in a group of people and demographics that weren't watching golf to begin with. So he was polarizing in a lot of ways. But when we move all that stuff out of the way, when we're talking purely about the play on the course, it's very comparable. In fact, yesterday with that win, he becomes first player since Woods to win at least 5 times in the PGA Tour in consecutive years. So the results are stacking up. Again, nobody's going to create the seismic shift in golf that Tiger Woods had coming on in the late 90s and carrying that dominance through the early 2000s. We may never, ever see that again. As much as PGA probably praise every single night they find that next guy, I don't think we're ever going to see that kind of thing happen again because it was so unique and so organic. But from a play standpoint, what he's actually doing on the golf course, yeah, Scheffler is being able to be. I'm not saying he's better. I'm not saying he's going to get there, but he can be compared to the results that Tiger was having.
It's phenomenal. And it was 06, 07 was when Tiger won those back-to-back years, 5.
Yep.
I saw that yesterday, that was such a pivotal moment because he had a horrible lie. He was in thick grass. He's 81 feet from the hole. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, he needs to just try. Par is great.
Sure.
Bogey's acceptable. Bogey would have been acceptable in that position. And for him, and it was just absolutely perfect. And then his body language afterward, it was only he tensed up a little bit in celebration, gave a high five, and then he's on to the next hole. I've never seen anything like it. And I remember the first time I became aware of Scotty Scheffler, like really aware of him. It was during the match play in Austin, I think 4 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. And I'm seeing this big guy with the goofy footwork. The goofy footwork, which should humanize him to some degree because we all look like goofballs when we do things like this.
Sure.
And I'm thinking this guy will never be an A-plus player. He'll always be in that Matt Kuchar range, good but not great, cash checks, so on and so forth. But the way he's transformed since he won that first major, I'm wondering now what the ceiling is for him, because it's gotten to the point where the other golfers now, the way they react is the way they used to react back in the day when Tiger was back behind them.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, if you were playing in front of Tiger Woods on Sunday when he's got the Reds on, you were paralyzed with fear. We saw many guys, hurt themselves and play themselves out of winning things because Tiger just struck that much fear in his opponents. And Tiger obviously had the intimidating persona that matched the game he was playing. And, Scottie Scheffler's not that same kind of guy. Like you said, he's very low-key, nonchalant. The most interesting thing personality-wise was obviously him getting thrown in jail, in Louisville last year, which I love the fact that he's embraced that and leaned into it and been able to laugh about it since then, like he did in the Happy Gilmore movie that came out a couple weeks ago. But he's not the same kind of overarching personality that Tiger Woods was. But again, look at Robbie McIntyre yesterday. If I had a lead on that guy, I'd be pretty nervous going into Sunday as well. Like, all right, this is where he kicks it into gear, and this is where I fall apart, because that's just how it happens.
And he shot 73.
Yep.
A guy who had been pretty flawless through the first three rounds shot a 73 on Sunday. And that's what happened. I mean, and Scheffler, when's the last time, and it might have happened recently, but when's the last time he just came out guns a-blazing and shot like a 64 in the opening round? I mean, he comes out, he'll shoot his 68, he'll shoot his 68, he'll shoot his 68, then he'll drop a 66 on you.
Yeah, no, he's
when it matters.
He's always around. And I was watching on Saturday. We were down on Charleston at a restaurant, and they had it on TV, and he was in second at that point in time. And McIntyre was leading, and again, you're just kind of watching it. At that point, it's the Saturday round, but it's like, okay, well, then you just know he's going to kick it into another gear on Sunday, which he did, and went on to win the thing. And it's one of those things. There aren't necessarily heroes and villains in golf like there are quite in other sports. And sure, plenty of people hated Tiger, and people hate Patrick Reed for different reasons, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But I think a lot of people are hopefully understanding what they're watching with Scheffler and realizing how rare it is, and then hopefully embracing it, because you never know when these kind of guys are going to come along again. And again, it looked like early in his career, Rory McIlroy was kind of setting himself up to maybe be that kind of guy, and then he went a decade plus without winning another major before finally winning the Masters this past year. So you just never really know, and we've seen guys fall off a cliff before, so you never know how long this success is going to be sustained. So enjoy greatness while it's here.
Rory, I have a whole set of issues with that guy. I think his goose is cooked. Honestly, I think he spent so long trying to win the Masters and fulfill his destiny with the career Grand Slam that there's nothing left in the tank. And who could blame him?
He said as much since then. Is like, look, I finally caught my white whale. Right? I've been chasing this thing for so long. I did it. Now what? There's the obvious, temptation of making more money and all that kind of thing, all that kind of stuff. But, and I've never been in a position to make as much money as he has. But I got to imagine at some point that just becomes another transaction, right? Like, all right, made another $1 million, made another $2 million. How much does that really change your life? I don't know.
Yeah, what do you do? Where do you go from here? And he still and he aged like a U.S. president during the height of the whole LIV PGA Tour split. I mean, you could see Rory getting older before our eyes. And then there's all the scrutiny. Are you going to win the Masters? Are you going to win the Masters? And you know what? Great for him that he won. Great. It was a fantastic story. But internally, what's he thinking now? He's skipping big tournaments. Mm-hmm. He is, and he was like the biggest champion for, we've got to play all these events and yada, yada, yada. And he's the one out there being hypocritical and starting to skip.
Sure.
So where do you come from there? I mean, maybe he takes the offseason and he gets rejuvenated and comes back and he starts going after another career Grand Slam. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. But where do you go from here? I mean, is he satisfied going out and playing each week? for regular tournaments? Does that do anything for him? Will the Ryder Cup even inspire him? That's where we might find out, Tyler. How inspired Rory looks during the Ryder Cup will tell us the future he has in golf.
Yeah, we'll certainly see. But yeah, great weekend for Scotty Scheffler and continuing on this era of dominance for him. What is he 30 yet? Is he still 29? No, he's not, because we're only like 8 days apart. That's right. Yeah, his birthday's like a week before mine or a week after mine, something along those lines. So he's not even hit 30 yet, and he's doing
29.
what he's doing. Yeah, it's 29.
When's your birthday?
June of 96.
His is the 21st.
Okay, so he's about a little over a week after mine. So, yeah, we our accomplishments are very similar in what we've accomplished in our 29 years.
Well, I think that is a subtle way for you to let everybody take note of your birthday, so that next year when you turn 30, people just be honest. I wanted everybody to know when your birthday is.
I'm not a big make my birthday obvious type of person, because I feel like people are compelled to have to tell you happy birthday and give you things, and I don't want to be the person that forces people to do that. If people find out on their own, that's fine, but I don't go out of my way to be like, hey, I'm not the hey, my birthday's next week kind of guy. You know what I mean? That's not me.
I like the Seinfeld happy birthday, no such thing. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
Yeah.
Well, look it up on YouTube.
I have. Yeah. No, I'm very familiar with Seinfeld.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not your generation, but okay.
It's not. I enjoy that kind of comedy, though.
What, the bland, just unemotional? Yeah, what a shame. You watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I've not gotten into Curb Your Enthusiasm. I get it. It's Larry David. It's the same kind of deal, but I've not committed myself to Curb Your Enthusiasm.
It's not as wholesome.
Okay.
Not that the contest episode was wholesome. But
Sure.
We'll have that on the after hours live stream. We'll discuss
that. Truly a show about nothing, right?
This one?
No, Seinfeld.
I miss Terry Ford. Do you miss Terry?
He's not even here today.
I know.
He's moving his kid into school.
It's the summer of Terry.
It is summer of Terry. Well, and if I know anything, and I told him this, when you move a kid into school, it's got to be 1,000 degrees outside, no matter what school you're at or where you're at in the country. So hopefully he's not sweating too much.
I'm picturing him directing other people moving this kid into school. Hey,
that's
bud,
possible.
Can you get that suitcase over there, bud? Hey, just take it on up there for me. I'll go get us some cold drinks. You just, thank you, bud.
It's very possible. Anyways, we'll get back on track coming up next. The Big Ten is throwing out a radical proposal for the college football playoff. What are we doing? We'll discuss that coming up next. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, Kay Wilson on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. Halftime show presented by the Men's Clinic for South Carolina. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, Get Wilson on the other side of the glass. Scott, how'd you feel about the old BCS era where it was a two-team championship format? Yay or nay? Yes or no?
I liked it better compared to what we had prior to that.
Okay. How about the four-team playoff where we expanded out a little bit, had some semifinals, and then a championship game? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Last year, 12-team playoff, expanded out more, first-round games on home sites, quarterfinals and bowls, semis and bowls, and a national championship. Good with that? That was good to you?
Loved it.
All right. What if we went to 28 teams and expanded this thing out really far and locked in 7 teams apiece from the Big Ten and the SEC?
I would watch, but I wouldn't be happy.
Think you share the sentiment of a lot of people across the college football landscape because the Big Ten has come up with this radical proposal. It's just an idea at this point in time, but they are going to at least pitch it to the other conferences to see if they can get along. This per Tony Petitti of having 24, 28 teams, and get ready for some numbers, a 7-7, 5-5, 2-2 model, where as the other iterations of their playoff format have been, the SEC and the Big Ten, who do have the most control, would lock in the most teams, in this instance 7. The ACC and the Big 12 will get 5 apiece. You'd have 2 spots for the best 2 G6 champions, and then 2 spots for at-larges, which more often than not, one of those spots will go to Notre Dame. But they're really leaning into this AQ format, which, again, is similar to their idea for the 16-team playoff with the 4 plus 4 plus whatever those numbers were, of trying to lock in a set number of teams from each conference and still have at-larges, so you theoretically get more in, but they want to guarantee select spots, in this instance of an expanded playoff, for at least 7 teams from their conference in the SEC to get in.
Well, and also what they're wanting to do is create more revenue by having these championship weekends instead of a standalone championship game, which is already a huge cash cow for every conference that has one. The SEC had the foresight to do it first way back in the day.
Sure.
They're wanting to have those play-in games.
Yes.
More opportunities, more money,
Yes.
more money for the conference, more money for the teams, more money for the host city.
Yeah.
I mean, if let's arbitrarily say you're Birmingham,
Yeah.
Atlanta. Let's say you're Atlanta, and you have the SEC championship. Then you have a runner-up game. Then you have another game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's multi-million-dollar economic impact right there. Never mind the television rights that would go to the Southeastern Conference.
Well, and that's at the end of the day, that's what all changes in college football and college sports these days stem from, is can it make us more money? And theoretically, I suppose if you expanded the playoff out to 24, 28 teams where you're having even more rounds, even more teams involved, you'd make more money because that would be more TV revenue, more people watching, all those kind of things, which at the end of the day is what they ultimately want. And the 12-team playoff has changed the way we look at the regular season a little bit. I still think it's very important and very valuable. Obviously, you have more chances for mulligans and chances to lose and still be in the mix now, but when you expand out to 24, 28 teams, and I went back and looked last year, these are based on playoff rankings that would have happened prior to championship weekend, every single power conference would have let in a team that was 8-4. So you would have had like Baylor, Michigan, Texas A&M, all these 8-4 teams getting in because of those guaranteed spots in the college ball playoff. And at that point, it's like, man, you're talking about like rivalry games not mattering. Georgia and Georgia Tech, South Carolina and Clemson, Texas and Texas A&M. At the end of the day, those games wouldn't have really meant much besides seeding at that point for both teams in a lot of instances, because they both would have been in. And the last thing we want to see is like them treat that game like the NFL does weeks 17 and 18, where you're resting starters because you have nothing to gain from winning those games.
Or do you rest them in the championship game? Because what are you going to get? You're going to buy.
Theoretically, they would eliminate championship games. We don't know if this would involve play-ins or not. I would think if you're expanding it out that far, especially if you're locking in 7 teams, you wouldn't need play-ins. But that part was not hit on specifically in this idea that was laid out, at least.
See, that what I saw was that, and I'm probably incorrect. You're probably correct. But what I saw was there would be a championship game. Both teams are already in.
Right.
And the winner of that game gets a first-round bye. And then you'd have 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. And the winners of those games would get the 2 other spots. 1 and 2 would be guaranteed. 3 versus 6, the winner of that gets a spot. 4 versus 5 gets a spot.
For their idea for the 16-team playoff, yes. But for the 28, it'd just be you're locking in half your conference at that point. Almost half your conference, at least. Because, again, you'd be getting down to the 7th spot in the SC. And I guess if you want to open it up for 8 and 9, then you could have 7 play 8 and 9 play 6, maybe. But then it's like, well, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, if you're just going to go with those 7 spots, just lock in the top 7 and go from there. To me, there's no reason for a play-in at that point.
The whole deal, man. I mean, it's just more and more and more. Then once we get to 28, what happens?
I don't know.
32?
Who knows? Where does it stop? Now, you look like FCS is at 24, and they've expanded over the years and all those kind of things. They play 1 less game in the regular season to kind of account for that. But I don't know. And that's at least weighted a little more fairly. They do have a committee and all those kind of things that decide who gets in. But it's the AQ thing that I think loses a lot of people. And I've said this before, when you look at the Big Ten's proposal for the 16-team format, which did include 4 AQs and all that kind of stuff, at least with that, you do take the power out of the committee's hands a little bit, which I can understand. But still, I can't get behind. Like, 16 is the limit for me, right? Like, I'm not going to support anything past 16 because then we're getting ridiculous, and then we're opening up to, again, 8 and 4, 7 and 5 teams making their way in, which I'm not going to get behind. But yeah, we just, again, the people in charge of college football don't think of fans' best interest or the health of the sport, for that matter. It's all about the bottom line, which is money at the end of the day.
But you see, you're talking about getting behind, taking it out of the selection committee's hands. I'm the opposite. I mean, the selection committee is going to have the good sense not to put an 8 and 4 team in just for the sake because, oh, well, they finished 5th in the Big Ten. They need to be in the playoff.
Yeah.
I totally disagree. That's the one instance when I think human subjectivity can come into play, that they can have the good sense with the eyeball test.
Sure.
Eye test. They can look and tell that a 10 and 2 BYU is better than an 8 and 4 Iowa 9 times out of 10.
Sure. Yeah.
And if they take it out of their hands, and it's solely by virtue of finishing 5th in the Big Ten, they get into the playoff. Well, it's just going to be a sacrificial lamb. And we saw that, Tyler, last year in the second round, if you remember.
Sure.
Opening round, rather.
Yeah.
It didn't work out great for SMU, bro.
No, it didn't. And I think, because here's the thing, we have to remember about the college football playoff contract. Baked into that contract is the Tuesday night rating show, right? Which is a 1-hour show where they just tell you where everybody's ranked, and we argue about it for the next 3 days until the next round of games. Come on, and, whoever's destined to be the chair that year. Last year it was, or 2 years ago, it was Ward Manuel. Last year it was Boo Corrigan from NC State. They get up there and waffle about, whatever the rankings were and the controversy. They give us nothing answers, but it's a made-for-TV product. And I don't think ESPN's ever going to sign off or be willing to give up the drama of, hey, this group of people thinks this team's ranked over this one, here's why, and the debate that comes from that, which if you have this multi-AQ model would go away, because, again, that is a big part of that contract that ESPN has with the committee, is making a TV product out of the rankings themselves.
Yeah, it's all about content.
It
more
is.
Games,
which,
more
hey,
content.
for what we do, I love it, because we get to come here and talk about it the next day. And, well, those idiots, they don't know what they're talking about. Heck, if they have this team above that team, it's great. And I understand why ESPN has it, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to give that up.
Well, and when you get to play the clips from Abu Corrigan or Ward Manuel saying, what was it a couple years ago that one of them said, we don't watch the games?
Well, that is their defense of everything, right? Whenever, Reese Davis, hits them with a legitimate question of, hey, so-and-so, they got this strength of schedule, they got this metric, that metric. The chair always says, well, we watch the games. I'm glad you do. because some of your rankings make me think you don't watch the games, but like they never give you substance. They never give you actual answers on why things are the way they are. They just try and fill 30 seconds at a time before they get to a commercial break.
It's like the Fast and Furious of sports television.
Exactly. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like, maybe we're crazy for watching it every single week because we know exactly what's going to happen. But I don't know. We like getting upset about things and telling people that are wrong about the way they rank teams. That's just our nature as college football fans, I guess.
I will watch.
Yeah, I do too.
I even watched the schedule reveal. I remember the ACC did its schedule reveal this past offseason, and they did it opposite a Duke basketball game.
Yeah.
It was like a big deal.
That was smart.
So why would you – you're marginalizing yourself on both ends.
Yeah. I don't get it. We'll continue this conversation on the other side. Would this push people away from college football? Because I've had a theory on college football for a while that could be tested with a playoff format like this if it ever came to pass. We'll discuss that coming up next. It is the Halftime Show. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, Kay Wilson on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton, by the way, brought to you by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Tyler Head, Scott Hamilton. Get Wilson along with you here on your Monday on the game. And again, shout out to everyone listening to us out in Charleston on our new station, WIWF 96.9 HD3. So we're being heard in Columbia, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and Florence as well. Last segment there, we talked about the Big Ten's radical idea for the college ball playoff, which includes 24 or 28 teams, and really kind of tanks what it means for the regular season, which is something that college football has always held in high regard and always had the best regular season, quite frankly, in all of major sports in the United States. I've had a theory about college football for a while now, Scott, and I want to get your thoughts on this because I feel like something like this could start to teeter with people and maybe start to drive them away because unlike professional sports where, you can grow up being a fan of a team because your dad was a fan of the team, you grew up going to games and all those kind of things, but a lot of professional sports ties are based on location, right? If you grew up in Georgia, you're a fan of Atlanta teams. You grew up in St. Louis or Missouri, you're a fan of St. Louis teams or Kansas City teams, those kind of things. New York, same thing with New York, New Jersey teams. But college teams, a lot of the times, it can be from your family going to a school. You go into that school. There's a lot more direct ties to college sports that keep people locked in and engaged more than professional sports teams do. That's why we live and die with college sports, especially in the South, more than we do professional sports. And I felt like because of that, they know it's harder to drive people away. But as you start to really diminish the regular season, if we went to a format like this, which I don't think we will at the end of the day, that is where I started to think that maybe, just maybe, given the fact, where we're at with NIL and revenue sharing and all those other kind of things that have soured a lot of people on the sport to a degree, I feel like that's where you start to maybe actually start to push people away that say, you know what, I love this sport, but I can't do it anymore with all these changes that have happened.
I agree with you for the most part, but at the same time, I think the tradition and the rituals around college sports are really strong.
They are
really, really, really strong, stronger than for professional sports. And I know that people in Green Bay and places such as that would disagree with me. But also you have to remember, though, Tyler, when it comes to college sports, you have more touch points.
You do.
It's not just football. You have basketball. You have baseball. It's the same colors, the same name on the jerseys, on the front at least. So I think it's different. I think that all of this and what you're talking about, and it kind of circles back to what happened last week at Williams-Brice Stadium with the logos on the field to fund the renovation that isn't about drawing in more eyeballs on TV, but about luring more people to the stadium to improve the fan experience and all that. Because whether they admit it or not, I think the powers that be in college athletics realize that they're at a sensitive spot right now where they want to keep growing and they know that they're pushing their fans as far as they can.
Yeah.
And they want to do all they can to keep them coming, to keep them in the mix, and not just television, but actually showing up at stadiums.
Sure.
And it's kind of a long-winded way of answering your question, I guess, that they realize it to a certain extent and they're doing all they can to still make it palatable rather for the fan.
Yeah, and that's the thing here, because everything's about TV revenue and TV money. And again, you can go on Twitter and see plenty of people displeased with college football, but like us, we're going to keep watching. For one, it's our job, but two, it's something we've been ingrained with and passionate about for a very long time. But if you really want things to change, people have to start tuning out, right? Like the ratings have to suffer for things to actually change. And when you look at just the past decade where we've gone from a BCS to a 14 playoff to a 12-team playoff, the ratings are great. And now with more games that matter in the run for the championship in December and January, that's more revenue and more ratings they're going to be able to pull in. And theoretically, with a 24 to 28 team playoff, if the ratings stayed the same, then you're bringing in even more games and more teams involved and more money for them and all those kind of things, which, again, I don't think is going to actually drive people away, but it'd be the closest thing to it that we've seen in college football, which, again, is the cash cow of all college sports and bigger than everything else, that could actually start to maybe sour people on it more than anything else up to this point has. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it'd be the closest thing to it I feel like we've had up to this point.
Does it create a bigger divide between the haves and the have-nots? You're letting more teams into the playoff.
Sure.
But I'm afraid what's going to happen is the teams that go deeper into the playoffs are going to continue to get more money. They're going to continue to have more resources. They're going to continue to be able to build bigger rosters. 20 to 24 will be a different every year, maybe 16 to 24, but ahead of that.
Yeah, and also this doesn't suddenly create more parity in terms of championships. I don't think 12 does either. I'd be willing to bet in the next decade we're talking about the same 4 to 5 teams winning the national championship. At least when you went back to a BCS or a 4-team, the barrier to win it all was a lot shorter. Like if Boise State somehow made a BCS national championship game, they would have one game, one team to beat to win it all, which was very possible considering the upsets they were pulling in BCS bowls. Go to 14 playoff, 2 games, a little bit harder, but still not impossible. Even now, right, when we talk about the Boise's and the, who knows, the UNLVs or whoever may be making the 12-team playoff, I don't see them putting together 3 to 4 games and winning the entire thing. And I don't think that's going to happen if you went to 24 or 28 either. So this idea that college football can become like March Madness, where you have upsets galore and teams going on deep runs, I just don't see that being feasible because it's a much different sport, right? The margin between a number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament and that 64th team is a lot smaller than team seeded number 1 in the college football playoff and team seeded number 28.
Well, and it's a numbers game. I mean, you have 22 guys, let's say 11 versus 5 in basketball. And that one, you could have 3 mediocre guys, a good guy, and an absolute superstar, and you have a chance to win a college basketball national championship. That's how it works. We've seen it over and over and over.
Yep.
In football, it's, hey, they've got a superstar quarterback, but an average offensive line.
Right.
Nobody to catch the ball, and they have 0 running game. I mean, it's just so very different. And that's why it's really a program-wide thing. That's why think about it, Tyler. 10 years ago, what was the biggest gripe we had? That you would have 4 teams in a playoff, but only 2 had a legitimate chance to win, Alabama and Clemson.
Yep.
And we saw that show, 4 straight years, it seems like?
Pretty much.
At some point? Yeah. So, and it won't be any different in a bigger playoff. I think 16 is the number. I really do. And
in today's college environment with the portal and all that kind of stuff, you don't have the opportunity like the Boise State teams in the mid-2000s to put together a 3 to 4 year run with the same guys developing, getting better, and that senior class ends up being really, really hard to beat. Like most guys end up transferring somewhere after popping off at a G5 or a place like that. Yeah. Ashton Genty was a rare exception, and even he didn't have the monster year that he had last year, the year prior, to know what was coming. So, again, your ability to build depth and build those power teams at those levels is pretty much gone, too.
Yeah, I mean, the only one we see would be Clemson doing that, and that's not a G5.
It's not.
That's an elite Power 4 doing that. So good luck to, UAB or anybody, Florida Atlantic, anybody like that, Coastal Carolina. They're not going to pull that off. I think the 12-team playoff has been good. And the portal era in NIL, I think it's been good in expanding the number of teams that would have a shot to win a national title. It's no longer just 1 or 2 or 3 or even 4. There's probably 9 teams, honestly, that have a legit chance of winning the national championship this year. I never thought I would say that. I truly believe there are probably 9 teams that can win the national title. Mm-hmm. But once you get beyond that, the field starts just getting, more watered down.
Sure.
And it really defeats the purpose. And then at that point, you start getting a bad product. People aren't going to watch that.
Yeah.
And that defeats the purpose.
Well, I don't think the Big Ten's idea is going to come to pass anyway, but it's out there, and they're going to try and convince other conferences, so we'll see what becomes of that. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2 and talk some Little League World Series as Irmo getting set for their second game in Williamsport coming up here in just a little over an hour. It is the halftime show sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. He is Scott Hamilton. I'm Tyler Head. Kale Wilson producing on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Heads, Scott Hamilton, by the way, presented by the Men's Clinic for South Carolina. Tyler Heads, Scott Hamilton, Cale Wilson, along with you on your Monday here on the game. Another reminder later on this week, on Friday, it is the Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms, formerly the Nest and the Vista. At Chartwood Golf Club, we'll be out there hanging out all day long. Tea time's at 9. Registration begins at 7:30. You can join us for onion sausages for breakfast, the mimosa bar provided by Saki's Wine and Spirits, and Firehouse Subs for lunch. We'll have prize to give away, and the golf gun makes its return. If you want to take part in it, give Chartwood a call at 803-755-2000 and press the number 2 to sign up. Only $400 for our team. We hope to see you out there for the game Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms. The Little League World Series rolling on in Williamsport. Watching right now is Venezuela and Japan playing on the international bracket. Top third inning. Venezuela just played it its third run of the game to lead 3-0. And then coming up here within a little over an hour at 3 o'clock, we will have the second game for Irmo's Little League team as they represent the Southeast. They take on Nevada from the mountain region of the United States in the winner's bracket out there in Williamsport, as they're hoping to replicate the dominance they had over Massachusetts with that 13-0 victory the other day to open things up out there in Pennsylvania.
I think it's an event like we've never seen. The Little League World Series.
I love the Little League World Series. It's fun to watch every single year, and having the local component of Irmo in there just makes it that much better.
I remember, gosh, I think it was like 24 years ago, one of the teams had what's his name? El Monte, Danny El Monte or something. Turned out he was like 15 years old.
Was that from the Florida team?
I think it was.
Yeah. He looked older, I'll say that much. There unfortunately has been a lot of dishonesty. We talked about cheating earlier with Michigan. There's been a lot of dishonesty in the history of the Little League World Series, and the kid from Florida 20 or some odd years ago was probably one of the most well-known examples.
Danny Almonte is 38 years old now.
So yeah, that would have been around. I remember it was around the time the Marlins won the World Series, because Florida and Florida. Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
He was, all right, what's 2000? He was 15 years old.
That would have been 2002, if I'm thinking correctly.
It's 01.
01, okay. All right. Still close.
5'8". He was clocking in at 76 miles an hour, which is the equivalent of 102 if it were in the major leagues.
Yeah. You saw Benchwarmers, right, the movie?
Yeah.
Where they hand the umpire the note with the $10 bill that says, "I am 12." Same kind of thing.
He struck out 62 of 72 batters he faced.
Yeah.
Gave up only 3 hits and 3 starts. I'm amazed they got 3 hits.
He was a sophomore playing against 6th graders.
I'm down with it. I like to go back in time and try it out. See how I would have done in 10th grade.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have been lights out, and they would be like, "Huh, that Scott Hamilton kid, he's pretty good for a 12-year-old." Well, he's actually 15.
He played semi-pro in 09. This is all happening in the Bronx now. What's he doing now? It doesn't say what he's doing now. He's been married for a while. In 06, he married a 30-year-old.
Oh.
No, in 05.
Wow.
When he was 18, he married a 30-year-old woman. He has no sense of time or space.
That's crazy. Anyways, Irmo playing coming up here in about an hour, and you're maybe going to be on your way to Williamsport tomorrow?
Yeah. It's up in the air right now. We're trying to figure it out. Part of it depends on Irmo, and then there's also a pretty big deal with the Cannon Street All-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Just an absolutely tremendous story. That was an all-star team composed entirely of African Americans in 1955, and they were to play in the Charleston City Championship. And this has been documented in books and some magazine articles. But the other teams in Charleston refused to play them, so they were awarded the championship in 1955, and they go to play in a state tournament, South Carolina State Tournament. All 61 teams in South Carolina said, nope, we're not going to play this team. So they were given that championship, and they're getting ready to play Rome, Georgia in the regional, play in Rome, Georgia in the regional, and all the teams there, no, we're not going to play them. So by default, they became the Southeast champs. and they go to Williamsport, and they said we're not going to let you play because you haven't played a game. We can't seed you. So those kids bust all the way there to watch, and it was just awful. And I don't know if you ever saw, what was it, the Bad News Bears back in training, or what, from the 70s.
The original,
the one where they say, let them play.
Right.
That actually was chanted at the 1955 Little League World Series. As the Cannon Street All-Stars are sitting in the bleachers, the people in the crowd were chanting, let them play.
Yeah.
Let them play. It was a really powerful moment, man. And I went to a meeting with some of the former players. There's only 8 players still alive. From the team and the children and some coaches and stuff. And they're trying to work on a memorial garden, a meditation garden in Charleston. It's just, they're going to be honored during the championship game on Sunday, 70th anniversary.
Yeah, very, very, very cool there. And again, we'll talk more about that and stuff coming up tomorrow. But Scott, appreciate you helping me hold down the fort as always.
Hey, y'all give me a follow on Twitter at Scott Hamilton PC.
We'll talk to him coming up tomorrow. Hour number 3 of the halftime show. The running hot takes of South Carolina football. That's up next here on the game.
See you, buddy. All right, I'll get back to you ASAP.
Welcome back in. Hour number 3. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head along with you, hanging out with Kale Wilson, producing on the other side of the glass. Coming up in the next couple of segments, by the way, I'm going to let you rehear the conversation that myself, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark had with Debo Williams earlier on this morning. Former Gamecock joined us on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. We got an update on what he's doing right now. Obviously, spent some time in the offseason with Pittsburgh Steelers as a camp invite. Also doing some stuff outside the world of football, too. We'll let you hear that conversation coming up here a little bit later on in the hour. But I wanted to get back to something that Jack Veltri and I talked about earlier on this morning on the Extra Point as we get closer to the start of season, only 13 days away until Carolina, Virginia Tech square off in Atlanta. And Jack does something every single year where he allows people on the Insiders Forum on Gamecock Central to submit hot takes, and he gives his thoughts on said hot takes. And a couple of those, you can read his full article on GamecockCentral.com. He had a couple that really stood out to me that I wanted to give some thoughts and opinions on real quick before we get into the Debo Williams stuff. One of those that he noted on was, or one of them that was submitted that he gave his opinion on was Brian Thomas Jr. will have more sacks than Dylan Stewart, which he bought. He says there's a reasonable possibility that Brian Thomas Jr. could end up with more sacks than Dylan Stewart this upcoming year. And the reason that he gave, which is something I can agree with, is for one, Brian Thomas Jr. only had, two sacks less than Dylan Stewart had a season ago at 4.5. And he's somebody that could benefit from all the attention that's going to be put on Dylan Stewart this upcoming year. Because, again, the game plan for South Carolina's defense is going to have a big old circle around Dylan Stewart saying, hey, plan for this guy, prevent this guy from wreaking havoc on you, and let the rest take care of itself. So you're going to have teams that are going to be doubling Dylan Stewart pretty much every single game. And this is where we talked about, a big question for the defense this year is, can you have a consistent threat on the other side of the defensive line that can consistently generate a pass rush, consistently get to quarterbacks, and wreak havoc, as we like to talk about. Brian Thomas Jr. gives you the best opportunity for that, given the proven production we've had out of him in his time here at South Carolina so far. Could it be a JT Gear? Could it be a Desmond Yu? Absolutely. But Brian Thomas Jr. seems to be the guy that's in that pole position as of right now to possibly lay claim to that if this season does go the way that we hope it does for him. And if that's the case, considering the fact there's going to be so much attention paid to Dylan Stewart, much like Kennard last year, he could eat because of that. Again, they're going to try to take away Dylan Stewart for anything else. And if they do that, you hope a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. can take advantage and possibly end up having a really strong season because of that. Again, could he get more sacks than Stewart? We'll see. But if Stewart's getting taken away, then hopefully Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be that guy to maybe take advantage of that and have a really strong season himself here, at South Carolina. Another one, this is one that Jack actually sold on, was somebody said South Carolina goes 3-0 in October, and he sold on that, saying doesn't really think that's possible. And I look at what that month is. Again, you've got LSU on the road, you've got Oklahoma and Alabama here in back-to-back weeks. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't think anybody's going undefeated in the SEC. Not Texas, not Georgia, not Alabama. Nobody's going to make it through this conference unscathed because of how deep and how tough it is. And South Carolina's no exception to that. That month of October, those 4 games in the middle of the season, which include the November game against Ole Miss, but we're not including that here, are the toughest slate that South Carolina has to deal with. And as much as we love and believe in this team, I don't think they're navigating through that completely unscathed. Doesn't mean you can't have a winning record during that time, but 3-0 between LSU, Oklahoma, and Alabama is a very, very tall ask that I can't say right now. Now, maybe after the first month of the season, if Carolina just blows the door off of their first 5 opponents and leaves everybody lying in waste after those first 5 games of the year, maybe I change my opinion, and maybe if LSU doesn't look as good or Oklahoma and Alabama don't look as good as we think they're going to be, then maybe my opinion can change. But I have a tough time thinking 3-0 right now. I do think, as based on what I think of these teams right now, that game at LSU is your opportunity to maybe lose your first game of the season, which, again, in this era with this expanded playoff, that's okay. You have a mulligan. You have an opportunity to continue to pursue a championship, even if you have one or two losses, especially in the SEC. So that doesn't prevent you from doing anything. I just don't think that South Carolina is going to be able to navigate that 3-game stretch without having at least one blemish on the resume, though I do think they have an opportunity to potentially go 2-1 during that time period, which, again, you're still in a really good spot to pursue all the goals that you have for the rest of the season. I wanted to throw my own hot take in here because I thought about this as well. And look, offensive line is something that South Carolina has struggled with a lot in the Beamer era, and last year was no exception. I think this offensive line can give up 25 or fewer sacks this year, which would be a 16-sack improvement over a year ago, which is a lot, and would still only have you about middle in the conference based on how those numbers tend to end up shaking out on a year-over-year basis. But I do think that it's something that's possible for South Carolina, given the fact that you have, particularly at your tackle spots, guys in Josiah Thompson and Casey Henry that are returning for another season. We've seen this across college football. You look at a guy like Caden Proctor, who we often compare Josiah Thompson to a lot. The starch improvement he had from year 1 to year 2 at Alabama, playing the left tackle spot, which is the hardest spot on the offensive line and one of the hardest spots in all of football to play. I'm hoping Josiah Thompson can give me those same kind of results coming up this upcoming season after having a full year as a starter, a full year of offseason development, and all those kind of things. Casey Henry, kind of in a similar way, right? Now, he's been on campus a lot longer. He's got a lot more experience of being a college football athlete than Josiah Thompson has, but he's been injured most of his career here at South Carolina. Last year was his first time fully as a starter the entire year, not dealing with injuries and all that kind of stuff, so he played a lot. So you almost kind of count that as a freshman type of season for him playing. And hopefully, because again, they both struggled. They both gave up the most pressures on the team, gave up the most sacks, all those kind of things. But I hope an off season of development and an off season of looking back on last year and learning from what they did wrong and what they did right can make them that much better this upcoming year. Where I think, and again, the middle of the offensive line is changing as well with a lot of new faces in there. But I really look at the tackles as the spot that hopefully make a big jump from year 1 to year 2 that hopefully, and again, I'm not asking them to win the Joe Moore Award. I'm not asking them to be All-Americans, but at least getting into the realm of being better than you were a year ago and only giving up 25 sacks. Also coupled with that is the fact that Lenore Sellers is so elusive, and that prevented him from getting sacked a lot more towards the back half of last year because he was able to escape some of those would-be sacks, for whatever reason he wasn't able to escape as much earlier on in the season. And that's where my belief that this unit can be a lot better this year, and again, at least be in the mid-range of the SEC compared to at the bottom of a year ago, is hopefully a hot take that I end up being very, very right about. So I wanted to throw a couple of those out there. Again, you can read Jack's full article on GamecockCentral.com, but a few hot takes talk about for this upcoming Gamecocks football season. Again, Debo Williams joined myself, Wes, and Chris for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Earlier on today, you'll hear that conversation coming up next as the halftime show rolls along on your Monday here on The Game. 11 o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris. Full house today, guys. We are joined by former Gamecock Debo Williams hanging out with us for about the first 30 minutes of the show. Debo, appreciate you hanging out. How we doing today, man?
Man, I appreciate you having me. Doing good. I can't complain, man. Bless.
You brought the whole crew with you today, didn't you?
I got them with me. I got my team with me.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, I wanted to hit on that first. These are your guys from back home. You've grown up together. Do you want to tell everybody listening about your team a little bit as well over here?
Yeah, so we grew up Smyrna, Delaware. I got my guy right here, cameraman Sean, Nate Sean Sylvester, Isaiah Cradle, that's my artist right here. Then I got my editor, Jordan Nang, right out of Smyrna, Delaware.
Awesome, man, and glad to have you guys in. I know, Debo, we had you in the studio, I got to say, it was a year or two ago. At some point, maybe longer.
I think you guys recorded down the hall, if I remember correctly.
We sure did.
I don't think he was live in here. I think y'all pre-recorded something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in the hallway.
I thought we had him in here at some point. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Garnet Trust interview back in the day. And, Debo, let's just start a little bit with your career at South Carolina. And, being certainly, I would think you would say, part of a turnaround for the team last year and just maybe helping build a foundation for what they hope to be moving forward. If you could take away one thing from your career at South Carolina, is there anything that kind of stands out to you, man?
For one, I just want to shout out to Coach Beamer just being able to take a chance on me. From me being at the University of Delaware for a couple of months that I was there, and for him to take a chance on a FCS kid, and for me to be able to have the career that I did, it started with him believing in me. I want to say thank you for that. And then just having the best fans out here, man. Like, I still come back to South Carolina every once in a while since I've been going, and it's the best fans. They show love to me like I'm still here, like I'm still playing for the team, So it's been the best that I could ask for at a college aspect.
We were talking about some things earlier, Debo, before we came on, like just life stuff, not football stuff. And, I mean, kind of piggybacking off of Wes's question there, like when you came in, you're a young man, maybe, I don't know if you still consider it, like when I went to college, I was still a kid very much, And so what's your kind of thoughts looking back on your time here, just as far as how you grew? Like, obviously you grew as a football player.
Yep.
We all saw that. But just your personal growth and development, too.
Yeah, it was the best decision I could have made. I got here, I had just turned 19 and left at the age of 23. So I was here for 4 years, and I needed to get away. Me being in Delaware, I couldn't grow as much as I did being here. So it was the best decision I could have made. I learned I did go from a boy to a man being here. I learned so much just being on my own, having to learn to pay my own bills. Like, just being able to, I got to do everything on my own now, got to get my own groceries. I got to do everything. So I really learned how to be a man while being here, for sure.
Let's go back to your time at the University of Delaware, which was brief, and, of course, 2020 when the COVID season happened and that season was postponed. What was the process of going through that, and ultimately what got you here to South Carolina, to where I think people often kind of forget you were even at Delaware because you've been here for so long? Yeah,
so I never got a chance to play at the University of Delaware, and I will always appreciate them grabbing me out of high school. And I had a running back that was here. His name is Marshawn Lloyd. He's a 5-star coming out of high school, running back. Ended up transferring to the University of Southern California, but me and him are from Delaware. He went to DeMatha High School, and he came straight here from high school. He came straight to South Carolina from high school, and I was at Delaware, and what COVID happened, and our season got canceled, FCS schools. They were still playing. This is when Coach Muschamp was here. So I never got to play under Coach Muschamp, but Coach Beamer had just got the job, and he goes up to Marshawn. It's kind of like, you know any linebackers? And Marshawn was like, I may got somebody for you. And I was already thinking about, like, I knew I wanted to be at a Power 5 school at the time. It's Power 4 now, but at the time it was Power 5. And so he, I'm talking with him, but at the end of the day, I can't do anything because I'm at another school. So he was like, man, if you ever feel as though you want to go into the portal, we may have something we can work on, So I took a leap of faith, and I took his word, and I went to the portal, and I didn't hear anything at first, so it was kind of scary because they could have took their offer away or anything they thought, and I would have been out of luck. And so me taking that leap of faith, a couple of days later, I hear from South Carolina, and it was all she wrote after that. I think they hit me up January 2nd, 2021. I was moved in January 7th.
Wow.
And the rest is history, they say. Debo, I remember when you first got here, man, and so Chris and I are trying to, get reports on hey, who looks the part out there, who's been doing well in strength and conditioning. And I remember the thing about Debo, they're like, man, this guy's a heat-seeking missile out there. Like, he hits anything that moves. And, you know, I know early in your career here, you were playing, but you weren't quite starting yet. And then I think there was maybe a point where it seemed like you were able to take the physicality, everything else about your game, and then it all kind of started to click together. Do you remember kind of vividly when it all kind of started to click for you, and you kind of went from being a guy who's on the field to being a guy who's like a true starter and making plays in the middle of this defense?
Yeah. So my freshman year, I was a lot of special teams. I came in my first game, I had blocked 2 punts, broke a record. And from there, I'm like, okay, I might could do this, you know, because it was my whole offseason coming. I'm like, it's SEC, can I do it? I'm in my head, you know. So that confidence came when that first game came, and I was able to make a way through special teams. And then throughout the season, I wasn't playing as much as I wanted to. I was still on kickoff and special teams and things like that. But I come back from my sophomore year, and Coach White will tell you, too, like, out of all his backers in the past 4 years, he probably was toughest on me. And that was because physically I was there, but mentally I needed to improve because I thought I knew everything. And I didn't know anything. And so he'd tell you he had to get on me a lot. And so coming into my sophomore year, we still had 2 senior linebackers. I'm just a sophomore. We had Sherrod Green and Brad Johnson. So I come in competing with them. We also had Mo Cobbler, too. So that was the rotation, the 4-man rotation. And so I'm going back and forth with them, competing every single day, but I'm just improving. And so mentally, I started learning everything with the offenses we're doing. I knew the exact playbook for the defense, so I was able to put it together in that aspect.
So Clayton White, obviously the defense coordinator, but you're in his room as well as the linebackers coach. And Clayton White might be one of the most genuine seeming guys that South Carolina's ever had, I feel like, as a coach here. What can you tell us about, you know, A, what you learned from him and with him, but B, just what it was like to be around him on like a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So I tell you what, just from any coaching staff under Coach Beamer, you're going to get what you put in. So if you out there and you doing your thing on special teams, eventually, especially this for all my young guys coming in, you're going to get a chance. You start making plays out there in practice, you're going to get a chance. So I would definitely say they stick to their word. Like, if you are coming in and you practicing hard every day, you in the film room, you answering your questions, you getting stuff right, you doing what you're supposed to be doing every single day, they are going to give you the opportunities. When you get in that game, though, you got to make the most of those opportunities. So I will say, being at the University of South Carolina, you will get your opportunity. It's on you what you do with that opportunity. But being with Coach White every single day, though, he's going to bring the best out of you. Like, he definitely got the best out of me. He knows his players. And he's going to be able to drive you. You know, he's going to know what buttons to push, what time to push them to get the best out of you.
Let's go back to that first game that you mentioned. So 2021, it's the Eastern Illinois game.
Yes, sir.
Beamer's first game. And you mentioned breaking a record, and that record was first SEC player to block 2 punts in a game since Chris Rainey in 2010. And then Carolina had actually not blocked a punt at all since 2014. So helping make some history there. You know, you mentioned that you were on special teams primarily in year one. Like, what did you think of that coming in? Like, were you a guy, because Beamer mentioned the other day, hey, a lot of times we get guys in high school and they're used to being the guy.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they play offense and defense, maybe they star on one side of the ball, but they're probably not dreaming when they're growing up of, I'm going to go to a Power 4 school and go block punts or be the gunner or be the left guard. You know what I mean? Yep. So, like, what was your attitude towards that, and did it shift at all, like, as you went along?
So those guys coming out of high school, especially if you're going to an SEC school, you're a 4-star, 5-star, so they definitely not thinking about special teams. I would say I came in a lot more humble because I was just grateful to get the opportunity, and I was willing to do whatever I had to do to get on that field. And so me being on special teams, I was like, this is my way in, you know? So I'm going out there and I'm doing whatever I can. I'm like, Coach, you can put me on all 4. You put me on kickoff return, you put me on punt pressure, and you keep me on punt, whatever. So I knew that was my gateway in. So I had to make plays. I couldn't just be out there and not be a factor because they might take me out. But if I'm making plays, I know they're going to keep me on the field.
So let's go back. Obviously, Joe D is here now, but you had Pete Limbo for a while, and Shane Beamer obviously heavily involved too.
Yeah, Beamer ball, baby.
Yeah, I love asking people, like, you know, Pete Limbo's very much got like the high school social studies teacher kind of vibe or whatever, the history buff. Like, what was it like when you first got to work with him? Were you like, man, this is a little different? Or, like, what were your thoughts on Limbo?
Man, I love Coach Limbo because he's going to be the same person with everybody. A lot of guys, if they not used to being coached, they can't handle Coach Limbo because he's going to coach everybody the same. He's going to expect the most out of you, you know? So, and some people can't handle that, but I could. Like, I knew he was coaching me to be better. And so I seen him get on Spencer Rattler one time, like, because he was the same with everybody. Like, so that's what I love about Coach Limbo. And then whatever, if you putting in that work and putting in that time, he's going to show the respect back because that means you're showing respect to him because you're getting the extra hours in with him, you're meeting with him. Like, you literally, at the University of South Carolina, you get what you put in.
What's the most obscure history fact or random piece of information you learned from Coach Limbo?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, on the spot.
I don't even know if I can answer that on top of my head, but he's showed us maps. I want to say my freshman year at camp, he showed us a map every single day at our team meetings. He showed us some type of map and gave us quizzes on them. Like, it was insane.
He's probably breaking the record in number of maps shown by staff. Was any coach, were any other coaches showing y'all maps? Or
I think Coach Beamer started doing it just because Limbo was doing it, but Limbo was different. But he's a beast. That's why he's doing this thing as a head coach right now. So
yeah, he's doing great.
He's doing
up there.
a great job up in Buffalo. Won the Bahamas Bowl last year.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he's been great. Debo, some young guys are going to have to take over this year at linebacker in particular. What can you tell us? And I know there's been a couple of transfers as well, but particularly the guys that you have played with and now are going to be asked to step up. And, you know, the guy I'm always intrigued by is J.R. Johnson as well. Just looks like a freak athlete. What do you think maybe would be the next step for him this year?
Yeah, so just his next step, because he's the most athletically gifted linebacker I've ever seen. Like, just to have the size and the way he can move. So I know he's going to be good from that standpoint. But just him knowing what's coming from an offense, a game plan, just be able to put people in the right position. So if a D-line is out of position, be able to put them in the right position so they can make a play or you can make a play. Like, have everybody on board for one, and then for two, know what's coming from the offense. And then that's when the TFLs will come, the interceptions, because he's playing his game now. He doesn't have to worry about little things maybe you had to worry about as a freshman because you don't want to mess up. Now he can play his game.
So we've heard a lot about JR from his time on campus so far. Got to see him a little bit on the field last year. What is special about him? What really stands out, and what can we hope to see out of him on the field this year?
I'll tell you this. You got three guys that had the chance to go to the league in the linebacker room last year. You had me, Bam Martin-Scott, and D. Knight. And then you got a freshman still finding a way on the field as at linebacker when you already got three guys going to the league. That shows you how good he is. And so what can I expect? I expect for him to be all-SEC as a sophomore. And I'm saying that here live right now. And you hear me, Fred, JR, you hear me. You better do it, too, because I believe in you. So
What do y'all call him, Fred or JR?
we was older, so we called him Fred, but I'm pretty sure they probably call him JR.
Okay. We could not get him. We had him on for an interview, and I was like, what do you want to be called? I don't care.
I don't care. That's him. That's him for you. That's him.
I was like, no, what do you prefer? I don't care.
He just loves football. He just loves football, man.
Man, I mean, that's something, and you said it there, like, out of the guys, you just mentioned the three guys, yourself,
Yep.
you know, Bam, D. Knight, who's, you know, all of y'all have, like, freakish, you know,
Our
capability.
own
Like,
abilities, yeah.
yeah, and for him to be the most athletic, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like a defensive end,
Yep.
you know, when you look at him. Like, if you just told, what position does this guy play, you'd
Yep.
be like, he's a defensive
And
end.
then
for sure.
moves like a receiver, though.
Yeah,
That's the crazy
Played
part.
receiver in high school. I mean,
Yep.
it was crazy. So, one more before we hit a break. So, I want to make sure that we hit on this. During the Clemson game last year, Shane Beamer called y'all over after Lenore scored, and I think you were in this group, and he said, "Hey, this is why y'all all came back, right?
Mhm. Yep, he sure did.
Defensively." I remember seeing that clip and some of the stuff, and you know. He said y'all did make it a little close. Like
Let's hit that on the other side.
yeah, let's hit it on the other side. We probably got to
Want to
expand
give him
on that a
time
little bit more.
to explain all that. We got to hit a break here. Debo Williams, former Gamecock, joining us in the studio. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on your Monday on the Game. Tyler Head here for the mortgage guru Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. If you're looking for a mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder has you covered. He's helped so many 1075 The Game listeners. He can help you. And we at The Game personally recommend him. Owned and operated right here in the Midlands, Jacob has local decision makers, which means quick and precise processing and underwriting. If you're looking to make a move, give Jacob a call at 803-719-1005 or email him at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com. Interest rates have stabilized as well as the local housing market. Now is a good time to buy a house. Jacob and First Palmetto Bank have product to help home buyers. And if you're considering building a home, we have no-nonsense construction loans that fit your needs. Give Jacob a call at 803-719-1005. It's a great time to buy. Call Jacob's MLS number is 198432. First Palmetto Bank is a member of FDIC and an equal housing lender. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris along with you on your Monday here on the game, hanging out with former Gamecock Debo Williams here in studio. We had to run to a break there, but Chris, we want to recount what happened at the end of the Clemson game last year.
Yeah, that was a good call, Wes. We needed a little more time for that. So Lenoris does the 3rd and 16 run, touchdown. Beamer calls y'all over, and this has been documented. Like Justin King and his guys got this. He calls y'all over, a group, you're in it. He's like, this is what y'all came back to South Carolina for. There's a minute something on the clock. But he also joked later that, y'all made it probably a little too close. A
little interesting.
A little interesting at the end. But like, what were you thinking, like, going into that last series, watching that transpire, and then seeing D Knight get that pick at the end of the game?
So they were kind of driving on us a little bit. So for him to get that pick, it was definitely a sigh of relief. Like, let's go. But to go back to that huddle, I can go back. I can rewind back to December of 2023 when we went 5-7, and I made a group chat. It was me, Boogie Huntley, Nick Eman, Tonka Hemingway, T.J. Sanders, and this is the defense, and DQ as well. And I'm like, I'm coming back. I need y'all to be here with me, and I'm not leaving without a great season, like by any means. We're going for a national championship, and once I made that post, I made a big post, and I was like, job not finished. And that's a Kobe quote. And everybody start coming back. We start making it work, and we start adding a little bit more pieces. We added Kyle Kennard. We added Dylan Stewart. We added D. Knight. And so it was, let's go. Let's put this together. We need to be the best defense in the nation. And as the season came, we were showing that. I was going for donuts. Now, we ain't get no donuts, but we had a couple games with like 6 points. And we was like, okay, we got a chance. So fast forward to the Clemson game, it's like, all right, it's go time. It's nut cutting time. You feel me? Let's show who the best defense is. Let's show who the best team in South Carolina is.
I want to come back to that later on, the decision for all those guys to come back. But first, I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about what you've been up to after the days at South Carolina.
Yep.
I know, first of all, you're a broadcast journalism student in the first place. And so I know that's something, I think at one point you had a podcast. That's something you've always kind of have interest in. But I know you're in the entrepreneurial space. Do you want to tell the Gamecock fans what you're up to, kind of what you're focused on right now?
Yep, yes, sir. So season finishes. We had our bowl game. I'll go right to training to get ready for the NFL. Didn't go how I expected it. Go undrafted. I go with the Steelers for a mini camp. Went really good. Everything was smooth. Didn't sign me. Okay. I'm just waiting for my name to be called. Somebody might call. Panthers, I have a private workout with them. Nothing goes about it. I'm like, okay. So I'm going through May, June, July, and I'm kind of just like, all right, no teams calling. All right, bills got to get paid somehow. So I've always been an entrepreneur. Like I said, my major was broadcast journalism, so I know my talents. I know what I'm good at. I went through school, learning how to listen, learning all these things, going through football, learning how to be a leader. You got to be a great follower before you can be a great leader. So it's things that I learned. I'm like, all right, what can I do? I always want to be a businessman. Okay, entrepreneur. Let's be an owner, founder. Let's create something. So I became a lot more creative than what I ever thought I was. I ended up building a mobile app. The mobile app is called Spender Hotline. It'll be out this week. But it's a hotline for all. So no matter if you need relationship advice, if you need to talk about anything you need advice for, it could be relationship advice. It could be a construction worker. You want to learn how to work at McDonald's. It could be anything you can think of. You need a math tutor. It could be anything. You hop on this hotline, that's what it's for. So it'll be in the App Store this week. But it literally took everything that I learned in school, everything I learned on the field, I put it all together to become my own owner, my own founder.
What did you learn during the process of, because I think you can learn all this stuff in school, and that can be a foundation for what you want to build or business ownership or a business. And then I think there's little things that as you go along, you just kind of have to experience it to learn it. What have the last few months been like just in terms of kind of learning on a daily basis, and what is the actual process for building an app?
Yep, I got you. So it's been a tough process because it's like you got preseason games going on right now. And I know I very well could be on the team right now. And I could get a call any moment. I'm still training. I'm still in shape. I'm still cut, football shape. And I very well could get a call. But at the same time, watching that, it's kind of hard because it's like these are the people I was playing with. These are people I played against, and I was first team All-SEC against these players. So it's like, okay, that's nothing but motivation now. Now it's like, all right, what's the rookie contract? If they're getting this in 4 years, all right, as a business owner, I will beat that this year. And that's my mindset. So that's the motivation for me. So it starts off with whatever your idea is, you have to put the groundwork in. So as far as you using notes, it could be something you write down. You're putting in the groundwork of the app. So exactly what it's going to look like, the layout. You can write what it looks like. You can write all the information. Then from there, I had to find a coder, somebody who can plug it in, because I didn't go to school for that. So somebody who can plug it in. Then I needed to find some good lawyers who can do terms and conditions for me. And then from there, you kind of put it all together, and you got to put it through the App Store.
And so just to repeat, it's in processing right now, and then it'll be on the App Store.
Yep, this week.
Okay. How does that feel?
I can't even say it feels great yet until I see it.
Yeah.
So I can see it personally because I developed the app. But as far as seeing it in the App Store, I can't even tell you the feeling I'm going to have.
Right.
But it's just kind of like I made a way for myself. It doesn't just take football, Sometimes where I grew up, and a lot of people with even just my skin color, that's all we know. We just know sports is the only way out. And so for me to be able to do this, I'm opening up another avenue for kids that grew up just like me. And to be able to do something like this, it's like I need to take this all the way. I need to be an inspiration to all the kids coming up like me.
What are your socials so people can, your social media?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm Team Debo0. Twitter, Debo Williams 13.
Okay, so everybody, be on the lookout.
Yep.
Make sure, I'm sure a lot of Gamecock fans are already following you on there, but I'm sure you'll have more information once the app comes out
Yes, sir.
about it on there. So everybody check that out. You were talking about going for donuts earlier.
Yep.
Is that why you wear number 0 or no?
Yeah, that's definitely why I wear number 0.
Really? Did we know that?
I don't think
just
so,
hit
no.
me.
Nah, that's not why. That's not why.
It's not?
Nah. But my
That'd be a
senior
great
year,
reason.
it felt like it my senior year for sure. But Russell Westbrook is my favorite NBA player, and he's always wore 0. And I kind of got the same attitude as far as playing. I'm always full speed. I'm rarely ever injured, God willingly. And I just love the game, And I'm going to give you everything I got on that field.
The group text with you and TJ and Boogie and DQ, all those guys,
Yep.
how fulfilling was it to have that conversation before the season and then go out and have a special season, and then just what will you remember about kind of suiting up with all those guys one last time?
It was legendary, man. It was very fulfilling because it was times during the season where when we beat Oklahoma, or when people ran on the field when we beat Texas A&M and Clemson, it's like those type of games. It's like, this is why we came back. This is why we did this. So the feelings are surreal, and those are my brothers for life. Like, I could go without talking to one of them maybe 5 years, and I'll see him again and be like, it's all love. Like, anything he need, I got him. Anything I need, he got me. Like, that is a brotherhood for life.
Well, Debo, we appreciate you hanging out with us, man. Really cool that you're doing these things even outside of football, while still obviously trying to pursue the football thing as well. And, man, you're a beloved member of this Gamecock community, and we're all cheering for you, man.
I truly thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all having me on.
We'll have to do this again, okay?
Always.
And once
Absolutely.
we're working on this podcast studio out here. Love to have you in for like a long-form sit-down at some point soon. So,
Good time will
Debo, great catching up with you, man. Gamecock Nation, make sure you're following him and keeping up with the app, and keep us updated, okay?
I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
He is Debo Williams, former Gamecock. This is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, here on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head wrapping things up here on your Monday on the game. Again, we're sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Quick reminder, Games Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms. Coming up later on this week at Charwood Golf Club on Friday. Tee times at 9. Registration will begin that morning at 7:30. You can join us for onion sausages for breakfast. The mimosa bar provided by Saki's Wine and Spirits and Firehouse Subs for lunch. We're going to have prizes to give away, and the golf gun makes its return as well. If you want to take part, it's $400 for a team. Give Charwood a call at 803-755-2000 and press the number 2 to sign up for the Game Summer Golf Classic, sponsored by Krager Showrooms. Again, thanks to Debo Williams for hanging out with us earlier on this morning. Great conversation there, and good to see him. Obviously, still pursuing the football dream. Again, the thing with the Steelers and the Panthers didn't end up working out for him, but hopefully he'll have more ample opportunities to do that. But it's also good to see guys that have other interests and other things they're trying to do outside of football, because again, football doesn't last forever. And again, hopefully he finds his footing with some team, but really cool to see he's got the app and everything that they're launching this week, and trying in some business ventures too. So we certainly wish him the best of luck when it comes to that. Speaking of NFL stuff, did want to hit a couple of notes from over the weekend as the NFL preseason rolls along through week number 2, including yesterday. If you watch this, pretty exciting finish to the Saints-Jaguars game. Cut number 2 here, Kale, with former Gamecock quarterback Spencer Rattler showing a little bit of magic.
Rattler in trouble. Rattler diving tackle. And the crowd goes wild.
So Spencer Rattler yesterday hitting the 2-point conversion. I know Spencer Rattler not exactly known for his wheels here at South Carolina, but could move a little bit when he needed to, but does score the 2-point conversion after hitting Dante Pettis for a 20-yard touchdown. Just for that to tie with the Jacksonville Jaguars, because of course there's no overtime in the preseason, but nevertheless a really good outing for Spencer Rattler yesterday against the Jaguars. As get his stats up here, as he threw for 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but went 18 of 24, so a solid outing there as he and Tyler Shuck, the former Louisville quarterback, go back and forth in terms of the battle for that starting spot for the Saints. Of course, Derek Carr retiring in the offseason, was injured most of last year. Rattler did get a chance to start a few games a season ago. Did not go well. I remember that Monday night game that he played where he seemed to be under stress the entire time. The offensive line situation's not good there. And if people are being very honest about the Saints, they don't expect this year to be a whole lot better in year number 1 or Kellen Moore. A lot of people have them with their mock drafts projecting Arch Manning to be the number 1 overall pick. This upcoming year, which if you listen to his grandfather, he's apparently coming back to school for 2026. But regardless, people expect the Saints to be a little bit down for a couple of years, maybe be in position to get Arch Manning, if not in 2026, in 2027, towards the top of the NFL draft. But you certainly wish the best for Spencer, and even if the Saints situation is not great, if he can put up good tape as a starting quarterback, then hopefully he can hang around the league for a long time, if not with the Saints, with somebody else, once he gets to the end of his rookie contract. But, performance like yesterday afternoon certainly gives him an opportunity to hopefully win that starting job for this upcoming season. And again, there's one more preseason game to go before the Saints and Kellen Moore do have to make that decision on who's going to start their week number 1 matchup. And some unfortunate news for a former Gamecock and Nick Gargiulo. I was watching this game on Saturday as well, as the former Gamecock guard was injured for the Broncos and placed on IR. I believe it's a knee injury. So unfortunate for him. You could see when it happened, kind of writhing in pain, as it was very evident pretty quickly that something was seriously wrong there. So we wish him the best of luck. He's somebody that transferred in from Yale, came in here and started on the offensive line the entire year for his 1 year at South Carolina back in 2000 and in 23. And we certainly wish him the best when in his recovery, and hopefully can find himself back into a good playing shape for the Denver Broncos. But yeah, that was fortunate to see over the weekend when that happened. And one thing as well I wanted to hit on before we get out of here, I tuned in last night to watch the preseason game that was on Fox between the Bears and the Bills, and I was pleased to see that the Fox graphics team has at least provided a new score bug. So if you remember back to the Super Bowl when the Eagles and the Chiefs played there, they had that very plain, bad-looking score bug that just had a KC and a PHI without much like personality to it, or any kind of real good presentation that everybody rightfully so hated on. And then the game obviously ended up not being all that interesting anyway. So perhaps you put it to the back of your mind, and why Fox decided to debut that during the Super Bowl, I don't know. They clearly listened to the negative feedback that came from it and have at least updated it slightly. Where now, instead of just generic city abbreviations, they now have the respective logos for the two teams. So last night you had the Bear and the Buffalo. It's still not like a lot going on with the graphic. Look, I like graphic score bugs that have information and things that kind of pop a little bit there at the bottom of the screen. This is not that. You have the two team logos. You have the score, the number of timeouts, quarter, time, down and distance, play clock, and then individually on either side, and this is something Fox has been doing for a while, you just kind of have a random stat like off to the side, almost in the bottom corner. I'm looking at a screen grab here of Tyson Bage at 2 of 3 for 31 yards, but there's nothing behind it. There's no like blue line or red line or whatever. It's just kind of sitting on its own, as Fox seems to wants to go to the minimalist graphic route. Again, these are kind of things that I pay attention to that you may not have as much interest in, but I remember the negative blowback from the Super Bowl back earlier on this year, that it's very clear Fox listened to that and took that into account with making the change that they did, that apparently will be the norm for the NFL coming up this upcoming season. I imagine we'll see an effect on that in college football as well. So we'll see that certainly coming up in a couple days. Once college football season gets rolling, then the NFL is, of course, not far behind that. This upcoming weekend, by the way, the last weekend of the NFL preseason as we get into week 0, which is certainly excited for those contests, including Farmageddon. We've got a ranked matchup going on in Ireland coming up on Saturday to start the college football season off proper. But that'll do it for the halftime show presented by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Coming up next, it is the post-game show with Jay, and I'm sure somebody, because Terry's not here today, but regardless, Jay will carry you the rest of the way for your Monday. So for Kale Wilson producing on the other side of the glass, I'm Tyler Head. Thanks so much for listening to the halftime show presented by Men's Clinic of South Carolina here on The Game.